Hi, this is Jeff Lockridge, Vanderbilt beat reporter for the Tennessean newspaper. Thanks for joining us. It's football time again. After nearly an eight-month hiatus, I believe it is, Vanderbilt Commodores are back on the field Thursday night. Ole Miss, 8:15 p.m. ESPN as the season kicks off. A lot of things to look forward to in this one. First and foremost, the fact that Vanderbilt is back on the field again after a very tumultuous summer. Well-publicized rape case, at least for a few hours now. They can put that behind them, concentrate on a football game, and it's a very important one. You look at the schedule, and this is one of those if games, kind of a coin flip. I think the odds makers like Ole Miss in a close one right now because they've got 19 returning starters, but Vanderbilt has its share of returning starters and very talented veterans on the field. So this is an even matchup in my mind, and one that, very much like last year's game, could go down to the final possession. Vanderbilt had to come from behind 17 points down in Oxford to upset Ole Miss 27-26 last season during that 7-game winning streak they had to end the year. A few keys to look for in this game. The first one, obviously, that jumps out is Ole Miss's passing game, and more specifically their tempo offense. Bo Wallace, a kid from Giles County right down the road, threw the ball a ton of times last year, 49 for 403 yards. Vanderbilt didn't intercept him. They did stop Ole Miss's running game, which allowed them to come back in the second half of that game. But Bo had his way through the air, and Vanderbilt would like to slow that down. The best way to stop a tempo offense, to knock down some passes and get an occasional sack, which is why Vanderbilt's pass rush is so important on Thursday night. You look at the defensive ends like Kyle Westman and Walker May, who's been out most of the preseason with an undisclosed injury, but Vandy hopes he's fresh. Caleb Azubuike from McGavick High School right down the road. Sorry, Caleb. The guy can certainly come in and make an impact now in his sophomore year, and Vince Taylor at defensive tackle. If these guys can get a rush against Ole Miss's line and just every other play, get in Wallace's face, knock him down, slow down this tempo offense, give a chance for Bob Shoop's defense to get some substitutions in, and occasionally stop the Rebels from moving those chains and force some punts, force some turnovers, then Vanderbilt's going to be in much better shape. On the other side of the ball, you look at Vanderbilt's running game. It's going to be real important that Vanderbilt does a better job against in the run against Ole Miss than they did last year. Less than 100 yards rushing last year, and of course they had to throw the ball to get back in that game. But you need to see 3.5, 4 yards per carry at least out of Vanderbilt this time around. It'd be nice to get 5, but you understand you are replacing Zach Stacy. You got Wesley Tate, you got Brian Kimbrough, Jerron Seymour. Kind of a three-headed monster they're going to throw at Ole Miss. They're going to have to get some good run blocking, and some of those guys are going to have to rattle off big plays. But more importantly, they're going to need to be consistent. They're going to need to pick up chunks of yardage and give their defense a chance to rest and stay off the field, and of course get some points on the board. I think that's extra pivotal in this game because you're not always in sync. Even though Austyn Carta-Samuels, starting quarterback now for Vandy, has looked extremely good in camp, you're not always in sync in that passing game when you start off the season, so you got to get the run going. And of course you don't have Chris Boyd at receiver. He's suspended, stemming from an indictment in that Vanderbilt rape case. So Jordan Matthews becomes the go-to guy. You're going to balance it out. You got to have a run game. Here's what James Franklin had to say about the opening matchup with Ole Miss.
I know our guys are ready and excited. We're to that point right now where they've been all spring, all summer, been training against each other, and they're ready for this game to get here. What I needed to make sure this week is that they didn't, they weren't so focused on the game and getting to the game that we didn't take advantage of the time that we needed to prepare and be ready for this game. And I think we've done that.
We mentioned Austyn Carta-Samuels. He takes over for Jordan Rogers this year. Kind of a one-and-done situation for him. He's a senior. This is his chance to shine. Formerly started 2 years for Wyoming. Sat out a year after transferring to Vandy. Played behind Jordan last year. Now this is his team. Here's what he had to say about taking that starting role.
Yeah, I think it's at an all-time high for sure. I'm extremely excited about the opportunity on Thursday. But for me, as a quarterback in this offense, I've really learned from my quarterback coach and from Coach Franklin that you got to make a lot of decisions at the quarterback position. And so once the game starts, you really focus on each play individually and my responsibility, as opposed to riding this emotional wave and emotional high going into the game, because that can really distract you from what's at hand.
I look for big things from Austyn this year, and Vandy will need big things from Austyn. Some uncertainty in that backup position. Josh Grady named the number 2 quarterback on Wednesday by James Franklin, beating out Patton Robinette for that backup spot, but neither one of those have game experience at quarterback, so this is certainly Austyn's team. You can read more about Carta-Samuels and his journey to getting to Vanderbilt and to getting this job, kind of a dark and lonely journey at one point in his life. To get here, we've got that story in Wednesday's Tennessean. Hope to see you out at the ball game on Thursday night. I know Vanderbilt is getting closer to a sellout. They hope to have the seats full for a late start on a Thursday, and we should see one heck of a ball game. Thanks for joining us.